When we talk about Marvel villains, names like Thanos or Loki usually pop in our head as the best, most feared villains, at least for the Marvel villains that have appeared on the screen. One villain that I feel like is underrated and underappreciated is Ultron. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into why Ultron, the artificial intelligence from Avengers Age of Ultron, deserves way more credit as a great villain. Before we get into the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with all the videos I'm releasing. Section 1. A deeper motivation. Let's start with Ultron's motivations. On the surface, it seems like a classic destroy humanity attitude most villains have. Ultron wasn't just trying to eradicate humanity for fun. His ultimate goal was to bring about evolution. He saw the flaws in human nature and wanted to push humanity beyond its limits, just like his creator Tony Stark originally intended. In his twisted way, Ultron was trying to save humanity and didn't even see himself as a villain. This was similar to Thanos, as he had the same mindset. His goal isn't to destroy everything for the sake of it, or because he wanted more for himself, but because he saw this as the only option to save humanity. He believed peace could only come through the destruction of its flawed version. It's that complexity that makes him more than a typical robot villain. He had the same saviour complex as Tony Stark, but amplified it to dangerous extremes. Section 2, a reflection of Tony Stark. Speaking of Tony Stark, let's talk about the genius behind Ultron. Ultron isn't just an AI gone rogue, he's basically a reflection of Tony himself. Stark is all about control, innovation and protection, and that's exactly what Ultron was after. But where Tony learned from his mistake, Ultron spiraled out of control. It's like he inherited Tony's worst fears but also doesn't have the empathy and the human side Tony has. Ultron is Tony's dark mirror. Both are obsessed with saving the world. The difference is, Ultron doesn't have the same moral restraint. It's what makes their relationship so fascinating. Tony created his own worst enemy, and that guilt weighs on him throughout the rest of the MCU. So in a way, Ultron isn't just another villain. It's part of Tony's ongoing internal struggle, which you see still stay in Tony after they defeat Ultron. As Ultron was basically created from fear by the Avengers, he knew how to combat them, and it kind of reminds me of the Frankenstein's monster situation. Section 3. Underrated power and threat. Let's not forget, Ultron was an absolute powerhouse. This guy wasn't just some rogue villain running around on the internet. He literally transferred his consciousness across multiple bodies, adapted to almost any situation, and was nearly unstoppable. In terms of raw power and intelligence, Ultron was a huge threat. Remember, he was able to get his hands on vibranium, something not many villains have done in the MCU, and he came out dangerously close to wiping out humanity. If it wasn't for the Avengers' latest edition vision, Ultron would have succeeded. And yet people tend to look over Ultron when talking about the major Marvel threats. Sure, Thanos was much more powerful and did wipe out half the universe, but Ultron was very close to causing an extinct level event, all while having his consciousness spread throughout the globe. I think maybe people overlook his power due to the fact Ultron only appeared once in the MCU, where villains such as Loki and Thanos came up multiple times. Not only that, but I think at first glance people might assume Ultron is just kind of like a bad robot, like the kind of villain you'd see in some robot movie, but his mental complexity is far more deeper than this. Section 4. The theme of evolution. What makes Ultron even more fascinating is his obsession with evolution. He wasn't just a villain who wanted destruction, he wanted to bring out the next step in human evolution, and that's a key theme in the MCU. The idea of evolution, whether it's technology, society, or the Avengers themselves, you see Ultron evolve just within himself, from being just a subconscious voice, then a recycled Stark robot, to a newly built robot, then to a robot built with vibranium, all in a short space of time. If Ultron was left to evolve for over a longer period of time, it would have been interesting to see what he would have been able to do. Ultron saw himself as a catalyst for his evolution, believing that humanity could only be perfected through destruction and rebirth. I found this kind of poetic, and when a villain thinks that they're actually doing right by doing wrong, it makes him even more dangerous. In a twisted way, he didn't see himself as a monster, he saw himself as an accessory. This philosophical angle adds so much depth to Ultron's character. He wasn't just a typical I want to take over the world villain, he had a vision, one that directly challenged the Avengers' view of protecting humanity. Section 5. Why Age of Ultron is better on rewatch. Now I know Age of Ultron doesn't always get the love it deserves, but it's actually packed with some great character moments, especially when it comes to Ultron. If you go back and rewatch the film, you'll notice just how many layers Ultron has. Ultron's dialogue is filled with philosophical musings and dark humour, and you start to realise he's a tragic villain, in a way crafted from Tony's own desire to fix the world, only to see that desire backfire in the worst possible way. Some of my favourite scenes of Ultron is when he first appeared and ruins the Avengers party, and at the end when he has a dialogue scene with Vision just before Vision kills him. Plus the film set up so much more of the MCU's future. the creation of Vision, the seeds of conflict between Tony and Steve, and even hints at Thanos. Ultron was more than just a pit stop on the way to Infinity War. He's the reason a lot of these key things actually happened and came to fruition. Now it is confirmed Ultron is returning for the new Vision series, which I don't think is coming out till either 2025 or 2026, but the same actor James Spader is looking to come back, which I think would be really good, and hopefully we see more of this character in different lights within that series. So there you have it, why Ultron is one of the most underrated villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I still personally probably prefer Thanos as a villain, but I do prefer Ultron over a lot of other villains we've seen, such as Gore, Hydra, Red Skull, the Dark Elves, and many more. Ultron may have not succeeded in his mission, but his impact was rippled through the rest of the MCU movies. And who knows, I do think there's a possibility to see him a couple more times in the future. But if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe so you never miss any similar videos to this in the future. And thank you for watching this video to the end.